This episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour is sponsored by the law offices of Alfred Guillaume III, a boutique criminal defense firm located in Washington, D.C. The firm specializes in defending federal criminal cases. You can learn more about the firm by visiting our website at guillaumelaw.com. That's GUILLAUME law.com. In this evening's interview, I will be speaking to intellectual property attorney Nakia Gray. Nakia is the principal owner of her own law firm in Washington, D.C. She specializes in copyright, trademark, and other business-related issues. To learn more about her, you can visit her website at nakiagray.com. She also offers lots of useful advice on her social media pages, especially on Instagram and TikTok at Nakia Gray ESQ. Now that you've learned a little bit about Nakia, let's get to it. Thanks for coming. I know it's been a long day for you. As we talked about off camera, you told me I was going to have to pay you some money to appear on this show, and I don't have any money yet. So, thank you for doing this public service for us.
Absolutely. Anything for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Nakia, you actually are my attorney. You represent me. So, a lawyer representing another lawyer. Why don't you tell the people what you do and what kind of attorney are you?
Well, I am an intellectual property attorney, and so I help people create, protect, and monetize their intellectual property. So that means I do some copyrights, I do some trademarks, contracts, anything, all things business.
Right. And for me, you represent specifically the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour, the name,
Yes.
which we're in the process of trademarking.
Yes.
The name, the eventual, the logo, all that. So if anybody tries to steal this wonderful idea that we've come up with,
They can forget about it.
because she is a bulldog. Don't be fooled by the nice smile. She's a bulldog and she's going to get you.
We gonna get them.
We going to get them.
don't
I'm not
think.
going to do nothing, but I'm going to pay you some money and you're going to get them. And it's going to be a sad day for whoever you come after.
That's right.
So, full disclosure, as many of our listeners know, I love my Howard University.
Yes.
You are a proud graduate of Howard University School of Law, HU.
You know.
And you were also a Washingtonian as well.
Yes.
So, little known fact, most of the people that went to the Howard Law School, they're like, I'm not going to say most, but yeah, I guess most are not actually from D.C.
Correct.
Myself included. And you graduated law school in 2006.
Yes.
I graduated in 2005.
Yes.
We were just talking about a sensitive topic, but I told you I wasn't going to bring it up, but I lied. You were supposed to be in my class.
Yes.
Which was a pretty awesome class.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
I'm glad that you give us that love and respect. And you really are, you're, not to use the term honorary, but you're...
I am. I'm one of y'all.
Right.
I think that I think that the issue was I went to the open house and I went through all of those initial, getting into the school with your class, the class of 2005.
Right.
So I thought I was going to be a part of that class. That's where I made friends.
Right.
And then I found out I was pregnant with my little Michael, who's going to college in a couple months.
Right.
By the way. That's how long ago that was.
Now, see, I wasn't going to date you, but you have dated yourself.
I have dated myself.
So now we can just have an open conversation. I never try to date people, but you want to date yourself, let's go.
Yeah. So I found out I was pregnant with Michael, and I deferred my acceptance for 1 year. So when I got there, I knew a lot of people because you all were there, but you all were in your second year, and I was coming in as one else.
So not only, and this is interesting because when you think of, we're the same age, you're born the same year. We were the same astrological sign, which, I don't even know that we need to say it because it's the best one there is, right?
They already know we're Sagittarius. I mean,
right? They already know. So you took some time off between undergrad and law school as well.
Yes.
What did you do in those 3 years?
So I took 4 years off, actually. So I, believe it or not, I was in the fashion industry.
Wow. You were very fashionable, so I can believe that.
Yeah. So I went to, my undergraduate degree is in business and marketing, which is probably not that surprising to you either. And I went into the fashion industry. I was an assistant buyer for a major retailer, and it was a
Can we say which retailer it was?
We can. It was Hex, which is a division of May department stores. That was a pretty large retailer of department stores. They owned Lord & Taylor. There were different ones all over the country, national chain. And DC was the corporate
I seem to remember that when I first moved here. That
You probably do, yeah. So DC was where the headquarters was for Hex, which is unusual, right? DC is not, a fashion capital, but that was where the corporate offices were. So I went there. I was an assistant buyer. This was times were so good in those 90s. This was the Clinton administration. This was the .com era. So there was a lot of moving and shaking. People were leaving jobs. It was more jobs than people to fill them. So I was promoted very.
So you were making money pretty quickly out of college.
Immediately. Good money.
Good money, right? And then what made you decide to give that money up and go to law school?
Well, I was always supposed to go to law school, right? So I grew up, everyone in my family, all my teachers, everyone said, you're going to be a lawyer. You need to be a lawyer when you grow up.
Right.
You talk too much, you argue too much, you need to be a lawyer.
Yes. So I went told me I have to pay you to appear, and we don't pay our guests, but yeah.
Right. So, I was destined to be a lawyer, right? So, but here's the thing. When you grow up, I grew up in D.C. I was the first person in my family to go to college. Everyone wanted me to be a lawyer. Nobody really knew what that meant or
I don't
how
think
to get
any
there,
of us know what that meant, right?
So I actually believed that when I went to undergrad that I was going to be a lawyer at the end of those 4 years. I thought that. That's what I thought. Right. I'm going to college. I'm going to be a lawyer.
Now, where'd you go to undergrad? Shout out your school real quick.
University of Maryland, Eastern Shore.
Okay. And you were a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Yes.
Alpha Kappa
I was trying to say it. You cut me off.
Incorporated. Let's put some respect on it. Yes. So
How many years in the sorority?
25. This is my silver anniversary.
Congratulations.
Silver year. 25 years. In sisterhood and service to the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Yes, ma'am. I got you.
So I went to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is an HBCU in Maryland. I went there to become a lawyer. So I was an English undergrad major originally. My sophomore year, meeting with my advisor, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm going to be a lawyer. And she's like, girl, what you talking about? You ain't going to
go to law school.
She's like, you got to go to law school. And I'm like, you mean to tell me I have to do 4 years here and then another 3? Oh, no, I don't have time for that. So I switched my major my sophomore year. And I said, I'm not going to be a lawyer.
So you wanted to be in business.
So I wanted to be in business. And so then September 11th happened. I was working at Hex. I had been promoted several times. I was making very good money. September 11th happened. The recession came. Hex went out of business. They were bought out by Macy's. And when Macy's bought Hex, everyone that worked in the corporate offices had to either move to New York or San Francisco.
And you're a D.C. person.
I'm a D.C. person.
You was not trying to leave
I was a
DC.
Full, whole grown adult with a husband and 2 children.
Right.
That was not going to happen. So that's when I said, well, you know what? Maybe now's the time I should go ahead and do what I was always meant to do, and that was go to law school.
And you chose the best law school in the universe, so.
And funny thing, I did not want to go to Howard.
Really? Maybe because you're from D.C.
It is because I'm from D.C. It is. I think that.
Kind of take Howard for granted, right?
We take Howard for granted. It's just the school over on Georgia Avenue.
Right.
But it's.
Except the law school's on Van Ness. Yes.
Van Ness.
We're in the fancy part of town.
Yes. Uptown.
Because we fancy.
We are. So I did not, I was sleeping on Howard.
Right.
And I went to that open house where I met all of your classmates.
Right.
Probably met you.
I was there.
You were there.
I remember. I came from New Orleans.
I was like, I gotta go to this school.
Right. It was magical. Honestly, and this is magical. Like, people don't understand.
Yeah.
But when I set foot on Howard's campus, it literally was magic.
Yeah.
I was like, and I went to HBCU undergrad. I went to Xavier University in New Orleans. And I was, I had a great experience.
Yeah.
But when I first stepped on Howard's campus, the law school campus in particular, I was blown away. I was like, wow.
The energy is, I gotta be here. Like, yes. I need to be here with these people. I wanted to save the world. Like, I left there, I would have cried so bad if I did not get accepted.
Right.
And thankfully, I was with your class because almost everybody that applied got in that year. That was the
largest
year.
class. Yes, that was the largest class in history.
So I slipped on in there because I did not do very well on the LSAT. I did not. But somehow I made it in. And once you're in, you're in.
Once you're in, you are in.
To,
and it's on you to perform.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm very interested in hearing about that I don't think we've ever talked about is how did you manage a young child? Two young children, yes. Being and a newborn, essentially.
Yeah.
While you're in law school. And it's the rigor of the first year in particular. Yeah. How'd you manage that?
So I have the most amazing supportive husband in the world. So I'll start with that. My husband was very supportive. He knew how much I wanted to go to law school, and he did not want anything to come in the way of that. So when I started law school, my son was 7 months. He started daycare when I started law school. Wow. So I had been home with him. My daughter was 5. And it was hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I can only imagine.
It was so hard.
I had kids later on, and it's hard. When I was working, but I can only imagine when I was in school. Like, how do you do it?
I will say that being, having law be like my second career, working in the retail space was as rigorous as law school, honestly. I mean, it was a very demanding job. Long hours, a lot of that. I mean, everything's an emergency. Have you ever
you had your daughter at that point.
Yes. Have you ever seen The Devil Wears Prada?
I have.
Okay.
And that's Meryl Streep is the bomb. Shout out Meryl Streep.
And that's how my boss was like that. Every woman that worked in the fashion industry was like that. So that's how that job was.
So that stereotype is true.
It's very true. Wow. Very true. So when I went to law school, I treated it like a job, right? So it was like 8 to 5. So and at that time, we had one car. I had gotten in a really bad car accident when I was pregnant with my son.
Wow.
And I
almost
died.
Wow.
Almost got hit by a drunk driver in Southeast DC. And so I didn't drive for 2 or 3 years. I was scared to drive.
Wow.
So my husband, we would get up in the morning, get the kids ready. He would drop me at the metro, drop each of them. My daughter was in preschool and my son was in daycare. And then I would leave law school at 5 o'clock, get on the metro. So I was treating it like that. Right. Get home, we would tag team. I'm cooking dinner. He's doing baths. Wow. Story time. But they were in the bed by 7:30.
Such a different experience from what I had. I mean.
Really?
Well, yeah. I was.
So 7:30, they were in the bed. And I would study. I would study again from 8 to 11:30, 12 o'clock. That was my schedule.
And you'd maintain that for 3 years.
Well, it got harder, honestly, because in the second year, I was working at PDS, at the Public Defender.
Is what for people who don't know?
It's the Public Defender Service of the District of Columbia. So I wanted to be a litigator. So I was working there. And then I also worked for a solo practitioner. So I was working and,
Yeah, you were doing a lot.
I was doing a lot. And third year, I was in the criminal justice clinic. So that was less classwork. Right. But I was going to see clients in the jail and representing people. So
right, I was in that clinic as well. I think the year before you did it. Yes. So I'm aware of the demands of such things. It's crazy that you had kids. I mean, I didn't have any responsibility other than to go to class, and we know Howard is known. I'm not gonna say it's a party school, but when you put dynamic folks like that together, we tend to have a good time. But you experienced some of that as well, right?
A little bit, but I do think that the experience of someone who's native to the area is very different.
Absolutely,
right?
I can understand that.
So for me, law school was a part of my life, right? I was just trying to fit law school into my life. But if you moved here, law school was your life.
Right.
So that's a very different dynamic. So for me, it's like, look, I got family baby showers. Right. I got line sisters here. We got this. I got birthday parties. Right. My kids have friends that have parties. So I didn't have the same experience.
But yet you still love the school.
I do. I do. I absolutely love. I would not trade that for anything.
What was your favorite thing about going to law school, and Howard in particular? What was your best memory, I guess, of that time?
I just did a TikTok on this. Great question.
Really?
So our my first year, we were Dean Dark. You know Dean Dark.
I do know her.
She was Professor Dark at that time. She coined our class the Brown at 50 class because we were the class that was coming in that year that
marked the 50th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education decision.
Board of Education decision. And so that was just so monumental to me, and it just touched me so much. In the spring, which was 2004, which was the year.
The anniversary year.
We had this huge event. I don't know if you remember.
I do kind of remember that, actually.
And some of the plaintiffs from the case, those little kids.
Who are now in their 50s and
60s.
At the time, actually. Yeah.
Yes, and they were there. I got to shake their hands.
Now, see, I didn't do that. That's amazing.
I will never forget that till the day I die.
And obviously, we know Thurgood Marshall is an alumni of Howard University School of Law.
Yes.
So our tradition runs deep.
Yes. So that whole year, I learned so. I mean, of course, in college or maybe. I
didn't learn anything about it in college.
We might have heard the case, but you at least had heard of the case.
Barely.
But I do not believe that there is a law school in this country that I could have gone to in 2003 that I would have learned as much as I learned about that monumental case, about Thurgood Marshall, about all of the attorneys that fought for equality for Black people in this country. Certainly, I wouldn't have gotten to shake the hands of these kids that were integrating schools. So for me, I will forever feel. I have chills right now just remembering that day. It was so powerful. Like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Right, that is an amazing story. You know, I started off the interview with calling the term used to describe you as the ultimate entrepreneur. And, you know, for our listeners who don't know you, you know, you're very active on social media.
Yes.
So what are your social media? Let's get that out of the way. What's your social media handles? Where can they find you on social media? All that good stuff. Because I'm gonna talk about how you inspired me.
Okay, so I am on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn,
TikTok,
and TikTok. So on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, my handle is at Nakia Gray ESQ.
And you are a master of social media. Let me just say,
I love social media.
During this interview, like, you know, we always come in, we chat and, you know, talk, catch up with guests, but you're like recording content to post on your social media.
Yeah.
And every time I've ever been around you in the last, I don't know how many years, it's the same thing.
Yes.
You are always on your grind.
Yes.
And I respect that because I don't know if you remember this, years ago, before I started working for myself and opened up my office, I was talking to you about it, and you know, I was like, I don't know, social media and this and that, and it was kind of like it wasn't like it is now,
right?
And you were like, you got to get on it, you got to do it, and you know, you have to, you know, just put this content out there,
yes.
And you have remained true to that advice,
yes,
to this day,
yes.
Matter of fact, you're such an entrepreneur that you never, I don't know that you've ever, when you got out of law school, you've never worked for anyone but yourself. Is that right?
Well, I did. So when I started my practice right out of school. And
so you started your own law practice out of school.
Right out of school.
Which is really just crazy, right? I mean,
maybe.
Apparently not, because you've done pretty well, but...
Well, listen, Alfred, here's the deal. You know, we talked about, I was making good money, but when I left Hex. So for me to walk away from that job, and now we're now 4 years later, because you got 3 years of law school plus a year of studying for the bar and getting admitted to the bar.
Right.
I didn't do all that to make the same thing or less than... So these folks was disrespecting me with these salaries, like, and also because for me the pool of jobs was small because I had a family. So my husband and children had sacrificed a lot.
So you were
for those years. So I was ready. I needed to be there. My husband, he's great, but he's like, okay,
it's time.
It's time.
Let's get it.
So I needed to be able to be there. My son was 3. He was 3, and he was going into big boy school, going to preschool. And my daughter was going to, I want to say she was going to second grade. So they were getting very active. I needed the flexibility. So that was a big part.
Right.
I started my practice out of necessity, honestly.
Right. And you were the ultimate working lawyer mom.
Yes.
And it's hard, for women, obviously, who have all this pressure placed on them to be, Black women in particular,
Yes.
to be earners, mothers,
Yes.
wives, to be as super women, basically.
Yes, exactly. And I did very, very well immediately out of law school in my practice. I was making very good money. And one of the firms that had rejected me.
Right. Talk about that. We talk about our successes and our failures.
Yeah. I applied to about 1,900 law firms.
1,900?
Yes, 1,900.
1,900?
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was all in.
Do they even have 1,900 law firms in this country?
Yes.
Apparently so.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It was $792. It would cost me $1,900.
Each time.
So what I did was I hired there was a service that had a database for me to say, okay, this is the size, this is the practice areas. This is before online, folks. So we had to actually mail cover letters and resumes. And so this service, I paid this service to write a cover letter and to the hiring partner and send a resume to 797 law firms. It cost me $1,900.
So that's wow. I've never heard of anything such like that. Wow. I'm speechless. I can't even get the words out.
Yeah.
Like
So I applied. So that's when I was getting those interviews and because when I gave them the size of the law firm, because I didn't want large firm because I knew I couldn't make that commitment.
Right.
So, and they were saying, $50,000. I just can't do that.
Right. Not after all.
No.
Law school costs a lot of money. Even back then.
Exactly. Even back then.
Right.
So one of the law firms that I applied for, which was a medium-sized law firm in Prince George's County, that said no.
Prince George's County is in Maryland.
Prince George's County in Maryland. And so
suburb of D.C.
About a year after I started my practice, I was doing a lot of volunteer pro bono. I was going to this clinic because I knew how to run a business.
You were on the grind.
Yes, I knew how to run a business, but I didn't necessarily know how to practice law, right? So I was doing this pro bono stuff to learn family law so that I could, handle these cases. And one of the partners approached me. She asked me to stay late, and she said, I really like you, and I've been following you, watching you. I think that if you bring your practice to this law firm, we could give you the support that you need to really take your career to the next level. And so she made an offer to me for them to acquire my practice, for me to go there. I mulled that over for months.
Months, wow.
Months, because I was like, I'm making all this money.
Right.
Do I want to give these people my money? But she was right in that, I was great at running a business. I really was not the best lawyer that I could be, right? And so
because you have to choose as an entrepreneur. It's hard.
You have to choose.
It's like, are you a business person or you're a lawyer?
Yeah.
It's hard to be both. I've encountered the same problem in my career.
Yeah. And so my husband, who's in real estate, again, this was a recession happening. This was 2008.
The biggest recession in our lifetime. So
my husband says, we might want to take that job, right? Because what I didn't know was, my business is doing great. Is it going to continue to? At least if I go there, we've got health insurance. We were planning on we were buying another house, selling our house, buying another house. So I went. Best decision. At that time in my life, that was what I needed. I did not have to think about business. I didn't have to worry about getting clients, although I did that, right? I mean, I was a very non-traditional associate,
right?
But I didn't have the weight of that on me. I could focus on...
Talk about the weight of that, because people don't understand that you've got to actually have people pay you money to represent them in whatever, and those people might not always have money to pay you. They may think that they have it at a certain time, but then they say, well, I'm going to pay my cable bill, or I'm going to pay my car note, and the lawyer can wait.
And if you're not, if you don't have strong marketing skills, you don't even have the luxury of that client not being able to pay you, right? Like you're wondering where
Right.
your next client is going to come from. So when you are running a business, for many of us, we didn't learn that in school.
We didn't learn it. No, and we didn't have parents to tell us that.
And we didn't
either.
have parents that tell us
And
that.
that's common, I found in my life and practice
Yeah.
with African Americans.
Absolutely.
We don't have the same support system. And I didn't realize myself until I started this business and making money myself, how much I didn't know.
Yeah.
And even today, even in 2023, I'm like, wow, we are so far behind
Oh, yeah.
our counterparts of other races.
Oh, listen, I did a social media series for Juneteenth, and I gave a lot of statistics. One of the statistics that I found out that absolutely blew my mind was that at the time the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, African Americans in the United States held 0.5% of the wealth in this country. I'm going to let you guess.
Yeah.
What do you think it is today?
You know what? 1%.
1.5%.
Wow.
A century and a half
Right.
since we've been freed as slaves, we've only grown wealth by 1%. That should piss everyone off that hears that.
And I'm going to tell you who's got that 1%, the NBA and the NFL.
Exactly. That's insane, right? That's insane.
Even if your numbers were off by 2 or 3 percentage points,
Yeah.
it's shocking.
It's shocking.
It's shocking, but it's not shocking.
It's shocking, but it's
Because
not shocking.
when you think about it, when any group of people is taken from wherever they're from,
Yeah.
brought to somewhere strange, it's a different language, it's a different culture, you're mixed with different ethnic groups, and then you're enslaved and beaten and raped for literally hundreds of years, and then you're told one day it's over. All right, go figure it out. Right. But we're gonna pass all these laws, to prevent you from gaining
housing, intellectual property,
all of that,
everything that you can do to make money and acquire wealth. We're going to make sure you can't do it.
Right. And
for years.
For years. Centuries. Right. Even slavery ended 1860. 3 or 5? 5. Yeah. So we're in 2023 at least. My math isn't great, so I'm not.
I think it's 159 or 160, something like that. And I only know that because I just did the stats.
Right. Lawyers don't go to math school, right?
We don't.
But seriously, though, it's the fact that we have what we do have is amazing. Yeah. But it's not enough. And I was ignorant myself. I thought I had a pretty good life until I met some of my counterparts and friends from other races. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Average net worth of a Black family in the U.S. is $24,100.
Wow. What a statistic.
Average net worth of a white family in America is $172,000.
Yeah. I mean, you can believe it.
Today.
Right.
Not 1865.
Right.
Today.
Well, I really heard that in my headphones. Wow.
Sorry. I get hype about this. And this is why I do the work that I do.
Right.
We have got to figure out how to do this. And the fastest way for us to do it is to create and leverage our intellectual property.
Right. And that's a good segue to one thing I've wanted to ask you a long time. I saved it. I didn't ask you ahead of time because I wanted to get your raw legal advice. It's not even about me, so don't worry. It's not.
Okay.
You're on the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour, so I love music and it's my passion. I'm kind of a frustrated musician, myself, but that's a whole nother story. I'm from New Orleans. Most people know that. And there's an artist. You may not have heard of her. Shout out to Cheeky Black. I don't know if you ever heard of Cheeky Black. She's an artist by the name of Cheeky Black. She was popular in the early to mid 1990s. You know about bounce music though, right?
Yes.
You know about it now because it's
Big Frida.
Big Frida, right. Shout out Big Frida, who we trying to get on the show. We got my co-creator who's off camera right now is working on that now. So when I go home to New Orleans, I'm trying to leverage my newfound celebrity with the locals. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Cheeky Black came out in an era when music was very regional, right? I mean, it wasn't There wasn't the internet. There weren't like national deals for people. They were just like, for example, in DC, you know, go-go is like the local music.
Absolutely.
And go-go is a DC thing.
Yes.
And it's very DC. Bounce music is very New Orleans.
Yes.
So Cheeky Black has this song called "Twerk Something." Now you're familiar with this with the term twerk, right?
If you get ready to ask me to get up and twerk, I am walking out of here.
You're a married woman with just like
I'm
what
kidding.
Come on. This is a family show. What are we talking about?
Because you're like, I saved it. You heard a twerk something. Get up and twerk something.
The cameras are rolling. Twerk. Nah, just kidding. This is a family show.
I'm playing. I know.
All right. The word, we've been saying that word in New Orleans since the early 90s when Cheeky Black put it out. I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they were not saying twerk in DC in the mid-90s.
No.
In my theory, and I believe I'm correct on this, and I get very passionate about this. It's not even about the word itself. It's a couple of different issues here. We talk about appropriation of culture. We're talking about intellectual property.
Yes.
And you are an intellectual property attorney.
Yes.
So I need to get your opinion on this because I'm gonna talk to Cheeky Black about this when I talk to her and ask her feelings. Miley Cyrus. You know who Miley Cyrus is?
I know who Miley Cyrus is.
Miley Cyrus brought twerking to the United States. She introduced the world.
Yes.
You agree, right? Of course, because she's the one who put it out there.
Well, she had a platform.
Right. Miley Cyrus went to New Orleans and got that word, that dance. Now, twerking is a dance that you're not going to do. We know that, and that's what Cheeky Black was talking about in her song.
Right.
It's twerk something. It says twerk something, you know, and there's other words I can't say on this show, but she talks about it. And it's a New Orleans bounce classic. It's one of the foundational songs of bounce music. I'm sure she's not rich from the song, right? She's said twerk something, and other people said it after her, right? Which is common in music. People borrow from people all the time. But the difference is they got to get paid. If I say something, you know, this is where your expertise comes in. I don't know. But I know in hip-hop music, samples are a huge thing, right? That it's based on samples. And Biz Markie was one of the first ones who was sued because he uses certain samples in music without permission. But Miley Cyrus took that word, that concept, that not the song itself, but she brought it to the world, and she gets credit for it. Cheeky Black, unless you're from New Orleans, I don't know how you would know that's
I never heard of her and never knew anything about her.
Right. It's hers. The song is hers. The word is hers.
Well, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
Because
let me know, attorney.
We can't own words. So let's talk about what intellectual property is.
All right.
Okay. And so intellectual property comes in different forms. We don't own words. Okay. We can trademark words.
Right.
Right. We can trademark words.
Such as twerk. Or three-peat.
Possibly. As it relates to the sale.
Right.
In commerce of certain products or goods or services. So the word twerk by itself, it has zero value. It's a word in the dictionary. I don't know if it's in Webster's or it's certainly in the Urban Dictionary.
It's probably in Webster's now.
It's simply a word. So now had Cheeky, am I saying her name right?
Yeah, Cheeky. Miss Black. Cheeky Black.
Miss Black. Had Cheeky come out and built a brand around the word twerk, and she's got twerk merchandise. She's got
What about a song? She got a song saying twerk something.
Okay, let's talk about the song. The song itself, there's multiple pieces of intellectual property to it. There's the beat.
Right.
That's protected.
The Trigger Man beat is what the bounce people use.
There are the lyrics. The lyrics are protected, but the words themselves are not. Okay. The lyrics, the beat, and then the master. Once you put that together.
So what you're telling me,
and the vocals are another piece.
Is that this is if her song that, let's assume, and I don't know this for a fact, that she created all those things, the beat, the vocals. She did the vocals,
right?
And the other things,
the lyrics,
which let's assume she wrote her own lyrics.
Yes.
she could have gone to the trademark office.
Copyright. We protect
office.
those things by copyright.
Okay. And
copyrighted her materials.
So that means that anybody who comes behind her and uses those words.
No, it's not the word.
Uses. Okay, tell me.
It's the lyrics. So if we, tell me the lyrics of the song. Give me the.
I can't repeat that on this show. My kids
so
might listen to
if someone wanted to repeat that bar,
all right,
they would have to ask her for permission.
Right.
But the word twerk by itself, no.
Interesting.
No.
So what you're telling me is that she's got no case against Miley Cyrus.
At all.
I mean, what?
No. I'm sorry.
I'm disappointed to hear that. I really am.
No.
But it goes to the larger...
Now, if Miley was to actually sample it, that would be different.
Right.
But saying the word...
So cultural appropriation
is not a cause of action.
It's not a cause of action. That's what we learned today.
Yes.
You can't help somebody who's been culturally appropriated.
No.
That's a shame. That is really...
But there's a remedy to that. As a culture, I just did a podcast episode on this.
All right, let's go. And we're going to shout out your podcast. I'm sorry, I should have led with that.
Build Your Own Table podcast. I just recorded a
found wherever you get your podcast. Right?
Found wherever you get your podcast. You go to buildyourowntablepodcast.com and you can listen to the episodes on any platform. I just did this because a lot of people have been tagging me and sending me this. Have you heard about what recently happened? Pharrell got the this deal with Louis Vuitton, and he released this new collection.
Maybe I heard about it.
Okay.
I did.
He replaced Virgil. Virgil passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this independent indie designer who went viral in 2019 because she took the Louis Vuitton shopping bags. So when you go to Louis Vuitton and you buy something, she took the shopping bag.
I wouldn't know about that. I don't have as much money as you do, but okay.
She took the Louis Vuitton shopping bag and she put handles on it and she wrapped it in like this, PVC and made it a cute little bag. She went viral. It was everywhere. Louis Vuitton in this latest collection that Pharrell dropped releases a bag like that.
Right.
That they're now selling for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so she goes on TikTok and she goes on a rant calling out Louis Vuitton and Pharrell for stealing her design. And so lots of people had different feelings about that. Some people say, well, it wasn't hers. It was Louis Vuitton. She didn't really have the right to it, right? So I did a podcast episode about us understanding intellectual property, protecting ourselves, right? So Cheeky needed to do something more than just say the word twerk. She needed to do something and sell something related to it other than just the lyrics of the song so that she could have trademarked it. Then Miley wouldn't be able to do that.
And this goes to the back to bring it full circle to our access as a people, our lack of access to this type of knowledge.
Yes.
Because we, throughout history, particularly in music history, we make this music. We don't own it. It can be used by others. It's changing a little bit now, but, this culture, African American culture, is American culture, obviously.
Yes.
But the persons who are the creators of it and the persons who have put it out there and done all this stuff to make this wonderful music are not historically haven't been paid for their work.
Correct.
And that really, really, really is a sensitive topic for me. I still think Cheeky Black should get paid. I don't care what you say.
Well, and Cheeky can get paid for
Miley
when
Cyrus
people play the song.
Miley Cyrus has made it her own, and everybody knows what twerk is now because of her.
Yeah.
Because this one person who went to the city, saw the culture, adopted it, appropriated it is the better term, and
well, it happens all the time.
It does. It's unfortunate. But, it is what it is, I guess. So before we let you go, I would like for you to tell all the listeners where they can find you and when they're looking for a lawyer for a particular thing to protect, what should they be looking for, and what can you help them with, basically?
Okay. So you can find me on online. I have 2 websites, www.nakiagray.com. That's really me personally, my personal brand. If you're looking for speaking or anything like that, I do coaching as well, helping people build their business. And then my law firm's website is lockedandlawyeredfirm.com.
Locked and Lawyered.
And it's trademarked.
All right.
And that is where you will find all of our services. So my primary services, I actually have a subscription membership. A lot of business owners need a lot of legal advice, but they don't necessarily have the ability to pay for a lawyer every time they need one, right? And so I've created an amazing community of creative entrepreneurs, and they pay a monthly fee, very low monthly fee, to be a part of this community. And I have all the resources that they need to form their LLC, get a contract if they need for someone that's, trying to hire them, or if they're hiring, a team member or a freelancer or a virtual assistant. I have a whole library of contract templates that they can choose from. They also have access to all of my resources on how to copyright and protect their content, how to trademark their content or their brand if they're looking to do some trademarking. And then they get to come. We meet twice a month. I do a session.
So not only do they have access to all these things, but you actually meet with them.
I meet with them twice a month. So last week we met. We have a Q&A. So if they have a legal question, they come and they ask questions. And tomorrow we meet. I do a coaching. I do business training.
How many days a week do you do that, the coaching?
It's once a month.
Okay, once a month.
So they get it's twice a month. They get to come. And it's a group session. They meet each other. They network.
They can make their connections.
They make their connections. They, work with each other, hire each other, refer each other. Because when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you just feel like no one else gets it, especially if you're married to someone who's not an entrepreneur. You don't really have,
you don't have a 9 to 5.
You don't have coworkers.
Right. You don't have coworkers. I said to my wife all the time.
Cooler.
I said, I haven't talked to anybody in 24 hours. Why are you not talking to me?
Yes. So I give them that, and it's great. And then if something comes up, they can ask me. They can get my advice. I had one of my members today. She's just got a contract with the federal government, which is huge.
Nice.
And she got the contract and she sent it to me and said, "Look at this." And there's a part in there that says that the work that she's doing, this presentation, they want to own it. And she's like, "I don't want them to own this. This is my intellectual property," right? But she wouldn't even be having that conversation if she if she hadn't been in my community for 2 years. Even though it's never been an issue for her, she's seen it, she's heard me talk about it, and that she saw that language and said, something doesn't sound quite right about this. And so she gets to send that to me, and I will advise her on what she needs to do.
That's awesome. That's really, really, really helpful. And you're able to represent clients all over the country, right?
Yes.
Not just in the D.C. area.
That's correct. Intellectual property is federally regulated, and so it's a federal matter. I can represent people.
So all 50 states.
I have a lot of international clients as well. There are lots of people in other countries that are doing business in the U.S. and get U.S. trademarks. So I have a pretty strong portfolio of trademarks that are international.
Wow. Nakia Gray, mom, wife, super lawyer, and super rich with international clients. That's what I'm taking away from this interview. I might need to hit you up for a loan when we get out of here. You need to be paying me, not paying you. Look, I can't afford to pay you.
You are so funny.
Well, look, thank you so much for coming on. I know we still have to talk about music, and I want to save that for our next interview. Hip Hop Happy Hour. But yes,
I got to give my social media.
Okay, of course, please do.
TikTok, Your Small Biz Attorney. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Nakia Gray ESQ.
And we do in the episodes a behind the scenes episode where we'll give all your information. Okay. So make sure you let me know. I already know what it is, but in case there's some stuff I don't know about, make sure you please let me know.
I will do that.
Well, thank you so much, and looking forward to talking to you soon, Nakia.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this month's segment of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. Please follow the podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. I'll see you next month. Catch you on the B-side.